Minecraft has gotten a lot of new blocks over the years. Some of them are really great tools and people use them all the time. Other blocks are a lot more rare but deserve more attention. And then there's the 6 blocks in this video. These 6 Minecraft building blocks are really common. I bet you use at least 1 or 2 of these in a lot of your builds. And like, I'm not trying to roast too much here, but these blocks are not it. I mean, they're not terrible. You're not committing a crime by using it, but for how much people use them, they're kinda overrated. If you use any of these, feel free to come clean in the comments. And while you're there, don't forget to drop a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already. Let's take a look. What's poppin', you guys? If my voice sounds a little bit weird, that is because I'm currently getting bodied by the warm spring weather. I'm having the roughest allergies of my life right now, but that is not gonna stop me from mind-splaining to you guys why these 6 blocks in Minecraft are hella overrated. Let's get into it. The first item on the chopping block for today has been added relatively recently. It's a bit of foliage, and in my opinion, it's just not that great. I'm talking, of course, about the flowering azalea. So here's the thing, right? Like the flowering azalea, it looks really nice by itself, right? Like you got this lovely pink color, you got these cute little pink flowers and whatnot, and it's got a really nice little shape too, you know, where it's not really a full block, it's got the kind of bush vibe to it. And like I was saying, the pink dots are really nice, but honestly, they really lower its versatility compared to the regular azalea. The regular azalea can blend in really nicely with like grass and moss and whatnot, kind of as a floor texture. It's just kind of pretty uniform, you know, we don't have these giant pops of color on it the way that the flowering azalea does on the top and the sides. In general, I feel that the azaleas are kind of big and clunky as far as like plants or saplings go. I mean, you know, they're taking up a full block, which is quite a lot of space. And yeah, I just kind of, you know, I feel like that most of the things that you can do with the flowering azalea, the regular azalea kind of does better, you know? Like obviously the flowering azalea works with the flowering azalea leaves, but like how often are you using flowering azalea leaves compared to regular azalea? These guys right here, the regular azalea colors, are super versatile, super amazing building blocks, and these are just kind of their weirder cousin, you know? It's just kind of not nearly as versatile, even if it looks kind of cool. All in all, I do like the flowering azalea. I don't think it's a bad block. I just think that people go really crazy over these pink petals, and especially now that we're getting the cherry tree stuff in 1.20, you're not really going to be seeing this very much in builds when you could just be using the regular azalea. Next up on our list is something that's been added actually relatively recently, and it's kind of made its way into the hearts and minds of basically every Minecraft player. I'm talking, of course, about the path block. So let me get this straight right off the bat, right? The path block is not bad. Having this bit of like 1 pixel depth on the pathways, the grass is trampled. It's supposed to be a little bit more sunken in. That's really, really cool. But here's the thing, right? Path blocks are nice, but there are so many more interesting options for dirt pathways. Like this is really basic and boring and not very interesting. Like this is something you'd find in a randomly generated village, not like a build that somebody actually made with their own 2 hands, you know? And like your custom path doesn't need to be anything crazy. Even just putting down a little bit of like moss and coarse dirt, which are 2 very easy to come by blocks, by the way, it really makes your pathway look so much more interesting and so much more alive. And it's not just like a dumb little like rectangle of yellow that just kind of barges through your town or whatever. This is a little bit of a pet peeve of mine, but when people mix path blocks as like a typical texture mixing with other blocks, it doesn't look good. Like people will be doing stuff like this where they just kind of throw in, you know, moss and coarse dirt and whatever just like randomly in with the path block. And I get, you know, of course, yeah, texture mixing tends to make things look a little bit better, but in this case, it makes no sense. Like if the path blocks are supposed to represent pieces of grass that have been like trampled by a lot of foot traffic, why is it just randomly splattered amongst these other textures? Like why are only these path blocks submerged by 1 pixel into the ground and the other ones are just the same height as the natural grass? Once again, a little bit of a pet peeve, but you can kind of see why I have my problems with path blocks and why I think they're just a tad bit overrated. Moving on to the next 4 blocks on my list, the last 4 blocks here, and these guys actually kind of have a bit of a common theme going. These 4 blocks have been in the game forever. They've been around since the alpha, the beta days, maybe even longer. I'm not sure. I didn't do my research, but they've been in the game for so long that they like become part of people's building habits. Like they're not bad per se, but they just scream old school Minecraft player, you know? And the first on the chopping block, stone brick. bricks. Yeah, I know. I'm going after stone bricks. Fight me down in the comments if you really want to. But here's the thing. Stone bricks used to be really good. Now they're not. Back in 2012 or whatever, if you were building with stone bricks, that meant something. That meant you actually kind of knew how to build. You were a decently good, competent Minecraft player if you could amass a lot of stone bricks and whatnot. But nowadays, I look at giant flat walls and whatever, and I'm like, dude, you know this game has changed in the past 12 years. This used to be the only brick block besides just straight red bricks, which I understand were really, really expensive and hard to come by back in the day, and not everybody wanted to use them in their builds. But now we have so many more brick blocks. I actually made a video on ranking all the different brick blocks if you want to check that out. We got all this stuff right here, 20 different textures of brick blocks and chiseled blocks, and we don't need to over rely on this very dull, very drab gray anymore, you know? There's nothing wrong with using some stone bricks in a build, but it really needs to go with other colors. So many people just default to a bland gray gradient, stone, andesite, smooth stone, stone bricks, and all that. And it's yeah, of course you have a lot of different options that are relatively easy to come by in survival because they're all made from stone, but it's I'm begging you for some color, man. Color's really nice. Anyways, enough talking about stone bricks. Let's move to the next block. And this next block is something that used to be in basically every Minecraft player's builds, and now you don't see it nearly as often. I'm talking about glowstone. Yeah, so if y'all remember way back in the day, this was basically the only light block you had around besides, jack-o'-lanterns, which obviously are very niche and not nearly as versatile for building lights and lanterns and chandeliers and all that stuff, and people just use glowstone everywhere. And I get that. You go into the nether, you'd pick up some glowstone. It was kind of a rare block, and you just slather it all over your builds and whatnot. And that's fine, but those days are long gone. Shroom light's a little bit harder to get, and obviously frog lights and sea lanterns are rather expensive for your average Minecraft player, but this texture is not it. Doesn't really have any style. It doesn't really go with any kind of Minecraft look. The only look I would assign to glowstone is old school Minecraft beta, vintage look, and that's basically it. And if all of your builds look like they're from 2012, I mean, first of all, go off. That's your own personal creative decision to make. But when I'm playing Minecraft in the year of our Lord 2023, I'm not trying to make builds that look like they're from 11 years ago. I don't necessarily fault people for using glowstone, but if you're still using this when you have access to shroom lights, redstone lamps, lanterns, and cool campfires and frog lights and whatnot, just use different block varieties. And kind of circling back here to old school drab gray textures, one more on the chopping block for today. I'm talking about smooth stone. Like the stone brick, it's a very old school building block. Smooth stone slabs have been in the game for a very, very long time. This light gray texture is quite nice, I gotta say, but there's two really important things holding it back. First of all, this border right here. I do not like this border. You kind of get the same vibe with a lot of the other polished blocks, right? Like the granite, andesite, diorite, polished blackstone and whatnot, where you've got these kind of ridges around the edge. And I get it, you want to have some kind of depth to this texture, but it makes it really hard to successfully texture blend because you'll notice these edges here from a larger, far away distance. The other thing that's holding back this block is, well, its color. We have better options. These two used to be the only light gray textures in the game, but now we've got a lot more options. I mean, we got concrete, we got coral, we even got light gray terracotta if you want to go so far as to use that. So yeah, because of the additions of all these other blocks, the smooth stone has really fallen by the wayside. And you can kind of tell who hasn't gotten the memo because they're still putting this stuff everywhere. And last but definitely not least, arguably the most overused building block on this list. Some of y'all are really gonna hate me for this one, but I don't think it deserves as much attention as it gets. I'm talking about the one and only oak trapdoor. Yeah, okay, this thing right here, as far as trapdoors go, is kind of mid, not gonna lie. And so here's the deal, right? A lot of other trapdoors kind of have an aesthetic that fits with them really well, right? For example, acacia and crimson look very industrial. They almost look kind of steampunky with these slats on them, They're really good for pipes and whatnot. The spruce trapdoor is very rustic looking. It feels very kind of log cabin-y, very old-fashioned, The dark oak trapdoor feels very fancy, very cozy, very warm and inviting. And yeah, I don't really have a block to show you guys guys, but I'll put it on screen right here, but the bamboo trapdoor feels very ornate and tropical. And these other trapdoors, while they might not be quite as versatile as the others, in my opinion, still have a good amount of use, or they're not as overused as the oak trapdoor, right? Like, warped trapdoor is kind of mid as well, but people aren't using this nearly as often as they're using oak. Like, sometimes you don't want holes in your trapdoor, and then you've got, like, you know, the birch and the spruce and the dark oak for that, but then other times you do want holes in your trapdoor, and you opt for, like, the ones with the really big holes, like acacia or mangrove, and then oak is kind of just this awkward one in the middle, you know? Anyways, y'all, thank you for watching to the end. I don't mean to be too negative here. I don't hate these building blocks or like anybody that uses these building blocks. I just think they get a little bit more attention than they frankly kind of deserve. I'll see all of you guys in the next Minecraft rankings video.